I spent 11 years as a professional baseball player. And what that means is I spent 11 spring trainings. And in today's video, I'm going to walk you through what it means to actually make the team, what it means behind the curtain, and not the type of spring training that you're thinking of when you're thinking of your superstar player that plays for 3 innings and then he goes and plays golf the rest of the day. No, I'm going to show you what it means to be an 18-year-old walking into a big league locker room for the first time, being starstruck. I'm going to show you what it means to be a 28-year-old that's no longer a prospect, who all they're trying to do is revive their career and make the team on the last day. I'm going to walk you through all the ins and outs of what does it feel like when they come into the locker room and they call you into the office and you know that you're getting sent down that day. Hey everyone, if we haven't met before, my name is Jacob Turner. I played Major League Baseball for 11 years. Now I help athletes and entrepreneurs get smarter with their money at Moment Private Wealth. My goal is to be a guide for the next generation of athletes that are coming up. Parents, family members, players, to make sure that they understand everything that goes into this, to make sure that they are maximizing every opportunity set that they have, and ultimately to make sure that they're maximizing every dollar that they make in their career. So if that sounds like you can schedule a link in my bio to book a call with our team, or you can subscribe to this page where I'm always putting out content that not just shows behind the scenes videos, but also shows all the different money moves that you should be making as an athlete. I want to rewind the clock to go back to 2009. I had just gotten drafted. And as part of my draft contract, I got invited to Major League Spring Training. I didn't even know what Major League Spring Training meant. Major League Spring Training is typically somewhere between 60 to 70 guys. The guys that we know are going to make the team, plus a bunch of other guys competing for a few spots to try to make the team. And what I realized really quickly was Major League Spring Training was going to be me being in the same locker room with guys like Miguel Cabrera, Justin Verlander, Brandon Inge, guys that I had looked up to, guys that were on ESPN that I was watching just the year before. And I'm an 18-year-old kid about to walk into that locker room. I'll never forget the very first day of Major League Spring Training. I walk in about 30 minutes before stretch. I mean, I'm 18 years old. I don't even really need a stretch. I'm ready to go. Everybody's been ready, what it looks like, for an hour and a half. All the media has been there, and I'm thinking, I think I'm probably late. Now, give me a little bit of grace. I'm an 18-year-old. I had no idea what I was doing. Now, I'll never forget walking out the first day of that Major League Spring Training. Dontrell Willis, incredible left-handed pitcher, walks up behind me and he said, "Hey, don't wear shorts and t-shirt tomorrow." See, I had worn shorts and a t-shirt into the facility. Now, shorts and t-shirt were fine when you're in the gym, but when you're walking into the facility on Major League Spring Training Day, probably shouldn't wear athletic shorts and a t-shirt. So thankful for me, Dontrell told me, don't do that again. And then as I started going through spring training, I started to realize, there's 25 spots at the time. Now there's 26 spots. But the reality is 20 of those spots, if not more for most teams, are already locked up. We're talking about guys that are on $10 million deals. We're talking about veterans. We're talking about free agents they had just signed. We're talking about top prospects that have performed the year before. So even though there's technically 25, now 26 spots on a roster, there was really only 5 or 6 spots on a roster. Reminder, there's 60 to 70 guys in Major League Spring Training. So we're talking about roughly 40 to 50 players for those 5 to 6 spots. Now you start breaking that down by position and you might have 10, 15 pitchers that are competing for 2 spots. You might have 6 outfielders that are competing for 1 spot. And the reality is that is what spring training is, especially Major League Spring Training. It is this weird business where you're sitting next to the guy who's in the locker room with you, who's your teammate, who you want to see perform and do well, but you guys are competing for 1 spot. Once I understood the reality of making the team, then I realized that performing as a non-superstar player meant overcoming really long bus trips, overcoming the unknown of when you were going to play. You see, spring training works like this. Every home game, you're going to see the superstar players, the best pitchers, the best third baseman, the best shortstop. They're going to stay there. And typically there's a road game as well. That road game might be an hour away, might be 3 hours away. As somebody who wasn't one of those top 20 players, you're going on the road almost every time. The guys that were going to make the team were going to pitch the first 3 innings, and then maybe a reliever comes in and throws the 4th inning, and then it's going to be a slew of guys, all those other guys that aren't guaranteed to make a spot, pitching the rest of the game. So not only am I competing for a spot, that the reality is there's 40 to 50 guys competing for 5 to 6 spots, but I'm sitting on a bus for 3 hours. I don't know when I'm going to pitch. And when I do pitch, I better perform like I've never performed in my entire life to make sure that I can stand out above every single other guy. Oh, and by the way, I need to do that for the next month, not just one outing. The first spring training at 18, I had no chance of making the team. And I started to get cut each successive year. 19, I get cut. I'm 20, I get cut. And by 21, I realize I know when cut day is coming around. You see, when cut day comes around, it just means it's meal money day. In spring training, it works like this. Each player gets meal money, and typically you're going to get meal money for about a week. So when I was playing, what it looked like was the traveling secretary would walk in, literally with an envelope full of cash. I mean, he looked like the Brinks guy. He'd walk in with the cash. Everybody's super excited to see him. He'd sit down at the table right in the middle of the spring training locker room, and guys would start coming up. You'd sign your name on this piece of paper and he'd give you your meal money. See, in those days, a week of meal money is going to be over $700. So not an insignificant amount of money. But what it also meant was if it was meal money day, it was also cut day. You see, teams weren't going to pay a guy an extra week of meal money just to cut him the next day. So when we knew that meal money day was coming around, you also knew that cut day was coming around. So what did that look like? You walk into the locker room and it's kind of this eerie feeling. If you're one of the top 20 guys, you're going to be on the team. It's just another day. But for the rest of us 40 to 50 guys that didn't know if they were going to make the team, you're just simply waiting. In my situation, is for the pitching coach to come in and say, hey, manager wants to talk to you. And by the third or fourth spring training, every time he would come in and say that, I'd just like, you can just tell me now. I don't even need to go in there. That's what I'm thinking in my head. Obviously, I walk in there, manager tells you how great you did, but hey, we don't have a spot for you this year. Go down to AAA and work really hard. And if you do, you'll make a good impression and maybe we'll have an opportunity for you in the future. And then you walk back to your locker room. Before you even get back to your locker, there's a cart in front of your locker that the clubbies put there. You're supposed to put all your stuff in that cart, and then you have the opportunity to wheel that cart all the way to the minor league spring training locker room. It's kind of like the ultimate walk of shame, but in professional sports. So I learned really quickly that meal money day also meant cut down day. You see, I had started going to major league spring training in 2009 as an 18-year-old, but I didn't make my first opening day roster until 2014. So 5+ years later. And I realized about halfway through that spring training that there was a glimmer of hope. Now, I had went into that spring training thinking there's a real chance that I could make the team, but there were certainly no guarantees. And I get about halfway through this spring training and I realize guys are starting to get cut. You start doing a little bit of mental math as a pitcher. You're like, okay, we're going to keep this many guys. I see who's left over. And at the time I was a starting pitcher and maybe there's 7 or 8 starting pitchers left and there's 5 spots. I'm like, okay, now the odds are all of a sudden they're in my favor. You start to see the light through the trees, so to speak, that this could really happen. I mean, the emotions of trying to make an opening day roster, especially after not making it for the previous 5+ years. You want to talk about performing under pressure. Now, it might feel like spring training to you. It might feel like a 70-degree day, perfect day for a ball game, only 8,000 people in the stands. This isn't Game 7 of the World Series. For me, it was Game 7 of the World Series. I'm trying to make an opening day roster for the very first time. Every single time that I started, it felt like a playoff outing. Here's what's weird about the emotions of actually making the roster. You don't get called in and they're like, oh, you made the roster. Other than if you're like a top prospect that they want to have the Instagram video of you doing it nowadays. Typically, if you're in the middle of that range, you just make the roster because everybody else got cut. And I think it was the same that year. If I remember right, essentially every other pitcher that could be in my spot getting sent down on those meal money cut days. And all of a sudden you're looking around, you're like, don't think they're going to call me in. But it's kind of like when the teacher asks a question and you just don't want to look at him. You just want to look down and not raise your hand. Nobody sees me here. I think I'm still on the team. That was 2014. That was kind of the peak of where I was in terms of prospect status and my status in the game in general. See, from then on, 2014, I had arguably the highest ERA in baseball. You can go look it up. I think it was the highest ERA for starting pitcher. And by 2015, I got sent to a new team. I was with the Chicago Cubs. And spring training, just like any other spring training, was somewhat similar. You had 20+ guys that were going to make the team. You had 5 to 6 guys that had a chance to make the team. And for me, I was one of those 5 to 6 guys. In fact, I can remember getting called into Joe Madden's office. And he told me, he said, Jacob, we have a couple guys competing for the 5th spot in the rotation, and you're one of those guys. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's an incredible opportunity. They're telling you you have the chance. And that was one of the things I appreciated most, was just the pure honesty of you have a chance, but you're going to have to go out there and perform. But then the reality set in. I was having incredible elbow pain. I mean, elbow pain that if I tried to wash my hair in the morning, it would absolutely feel like somebody was sticking a knife in my elbow. Yet here I was, chance to make the team, no longer a prospect anymore. We used to call that a suspect. That means you're not a prospect anymore. I felt like my career was kind of on the edge of the cliff. I'm looking down, if I fall right now, I might never be able to get back up. So then I'm faced with this dilemma of, do I go out there and try to pitch with this excruciating elbow pain, or do I tell them that I'm hurt? And the reality is, for every player, you're going to do everything you can to try to make the team. So I go out there, I pitch, do my live BPs. I go out there for my first game and I start pitching. Now I'm throwing 95 miles an hour. So my velocity's there, but I can remember in between innings, this excruciating pain in my elbow. I can remember going out the next inning and starting to warm up and feeling like I had just torn every ligament in my elbow. But it was weird. After 3 or 4 pitches, it just went away. And I thought, okay, I'll just keep pitching. And then the next day showed up and my elbow was so sore. I could not do anything. I couldn't straighten it. I couldn't touch the top of my head. And I had to tell him, I said, look, I can't do this anymore. And it felt like there I was standing on the edge of the cliff, pushing myself off, saying I can't pitch anymore. Now, the reality was I went on the major league roster because I was on the major league injury list. I ended up having elbow surgery that year. But you see, where it hurt me was then when I came back next year, I was no longer on the top of that mountain looking down. I was about 3/4 of the way down that mountain, trying to climb my way back up. And that's where I learned about this idea of the final audition. So I'm with the Chicago White Sox. It's 2016, and I'm competing again for the 5th spot in the rotation. I'm not doing particularly well. I'm doing okay. And I realized that it's going to be either me or it's going to be him. And him in that scenario was a pitcher named Matt Latos. Matt had an incredible big league career up to that point. And I realized if I was going to make the roster, he wasn't. And if he was going to make the roster, I was. And you're sitting there and you're in the same locker room and you want to see everybody perform well. You know how hard it is just to get to that level. You know how much work every guy's put in. But it's this really weird dilemma where you're sitting in the same locker room and you're like, it's either me or him. And that's the reality of spring training for a lot of guys trying to make the team. That's when you face either the greatest day or the worst day. The greatest day is when they tell you you made the team. And the worst day is when they tell you that you're going to AAA. And I want to share the emotions behind when they tell you you're going to AAA. It's not just the emotion that like, okay, I didn't make the team. It's the emotion that all the hard work that you put in for the last several years, not just the offseason, just to get to the point that you have the chance of getting called in that office and them telling you made the team, all for them to tell you that you're going to go back to AAA. And you know what that really means? What that really means is you're going to go back to AAA probably for at a minimum 6 weeks. Instead of pitching in front of 50,000 people on opening day, you're going to pitch in front of 500 people. Instead of flying on this charter plane everywhere and staying in 5-star hotels, you're going to be flying on Southwest and saying maybe if you're lucky at the Courtyard by Marriott. And that's the reality. The difference between the big leagues and AAA is so striking. And it is such a gut punch when you work so hard to get so close in spring training, only for them to tell you that you're going to go back to AAA. It feels like all the hard work that you put in just got totally unwound and you got to start over again. The day that the minor league spring training season starts, you're going to start from zero. And it's up to you to perform so far above what anybody else is doing that they look at you and say, you know what? We're going to give that guy a shot. We're going to call him to the big leagues. Now, I share this video with you for a couple different reasons. Number one, I don't think most people totally understand what spring training looks like. And number two, I want you to understand that when you're at that spring training game and you see number 86, number 52, that comes in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th inning, and you're like, why is that guy playing so hard? In fact, I just saw him run into the fence full speed. This is a spring training game. You need to remember that for that player, it's like game 7. For that player, every time he's out on the field, it's like a playoff game. And he is fighting for his career and he's fighting for the opportunity, oftentimes for the first chance to make an opening day roster. As always, my goal with this page is to give you an inside look at what sports and business looks like to help you get smarter with your money. So if you're into that sort of thing, make sure you follow along so you miss any future videos. Until next time, my friends.